Hello, Western Civ 104. We're in week 8. I'm just going to quickly say I have no real updates on the issues of the strike. Like you, it is I'm assuming that all of us are stressed and feeling uneasy about this still. So all I can say is right now you know about as much as I do. I have been in communication with folks, asking them to keep in mind that I'm, working online, not living in Modesto, and I want to be able to be in contact with all of you if there's any further developments. So as of now, we're moving forward, okay, in the class, and we'll just keep ourselves hoping that things get resolved, and that we can just keep moving along, okay? So I'm excited about this section because we cover Islam in the context of Europe. And we're dealing with Western civilization. And I guess this is such a controversial topic within Europe now, especially. Okay, so if you think it's controversial in the United States, when President Trump talked about a total shutdown on Islam, on immigration, and then we had the whole debate about the Muslim ban, or was it a Muslim ban, or is it a Muslim ban, and all of that stuff going on. It's much more controversial in Europe. In fact, it is the current debate and topic. And when I was in Europe recently, it's really clear that the topic of refugees, and when they mean refugees, they're really talking about Muslim refugees, in relations to how the broader European public feels about that, and the issue of assimilation and accommodation and all of that. It's a huge topic, and it's where people, I feel like Europeans have a lot more in common in terms of the way they feel about healthcare and so many different aspects of their lives that they seem less contentious with each other on one hand, but on this issue, this is where people also have the Facebook wars and just stop talking to each other, or literal fights over. The question of Islam and its place in Europe now. But it's because of a massive refugee crisis, which, by the way, are mainly due to wars that the United States has helped lead, like such invading Iraq, and with Bush, or with Obama invading Libya. And Europe is much closer to the Middle East and the Mediterranean. And so boats can literally go from North Africa and the Middle East into Europe. You have to understand that, right? And this is something that we forget about when you live in the United States, that the West is much closer to the East than we are, okay? And the cultural exchange, though, has been very clear. I mean, look, I just want to say, for example, you like guitars, right? Okay, the mandolin, guitar, banjo, you think about all this stuff. Well, those separate instruments have their own history, but essentially my understanding is that when the Crusades happened, the lute really came from the oud, from the Middle East. So already when the Crusades are occurring, there's an exchange, and there's just always, the West and the East have been sharing for a while, and they do it in their own way. And this is interesting for us to learn about together, and especially in regards to Spain, because Spain was an Islamic country for a little over 800 years. That's huge. It's a huge amount of time, right? And many of you probably don't even know that. It's like, it might be the first time you've heard this. Well, I found this great BBC documentary that covers this history very well, but I got removed, and that's a bummer. And I found one that's not, it's like they had to make it smaller. You'll see. It's just not as enjoyable to watch, but I want you to watch it still, okay? The information will still come to you. And, I think it's important. And I think that it's a very timely section for you to understand Islam in a neutral way. in a way that it's, I'm just teaching the history as it developed and the way things were at different time periods within Europe, within the context of Islam. I'm not now really going to, I was sharing information with you about how there is this issue within European discourse. I'm not pushing a view about that, other than to say that I'm always going to tell you my politics will always come down to this. We can all get along in society together, or we can make it look really ugly. I prefer us all having barbecues together and just chilling and figuring out ways that we can get along. And I think that I will just say this. There's a massive refugee crisis. It's unprecedented since World War II. And in World War II, it was the other way around. It was Europeans that were the refugees. And, it takes a global, no human's an island but a piece of the continent, to paraphrase a poet. Okay? So there's going to need to be collective, not one nation or two nations can just deal with this. And the United States, I'll tell you my political views right here. We started a lot of this, and we've been involved with Saudi Arabia a lot. And the fact that we don't want to take the responsibility of dealing with all these people that have been refugees in these Muslim lands, and that we don't put any pressure on Saudi Arabia, we give so much military aid to, it's ridiculous. And trust me, Trump has given more than Obama, and Obama did quite a bit as well. The refugee crisis, and Saudi Arabia has been really instigating like what mainly happened in Syria. But the Gulf states, those states aren't being pressured to do that much. They are doing some, but why is that? These are just, right? So it's going to take everybody to help out. It's crazy times. But in the middle of all this discussion, keep in mind that, I see people try to do, it's just like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. You can make a documentary that shows everything bad that's ever happened, and it'll be right. It'll be correct history. You can show everything good that's ever happened, and it'll be correct history. But what's really the true history is that it's been both. And people, this is not a time, when there's times of crisis or conflict or tensions, people don't like nuance or looking at things from a wider range of stuff. Look, and I just want to say something here. This is my last video that I'm doing in Thailand for now. I'm going to actually going back into Europe, into the Netherlands on Wednesday. I'll be 4 hours in Moscow, in Putin's Russia. And then I will be in Amsterdam, and I'm going to stay in Leiden, the birthplace of Rembrandt. I'm excited about this. I'm going to go check out the museums there and stuff. But, Thailand has been mind-blowing, and it's been very important. And I might even come back. I may even stay like really long here. But I'm really blown away by because this isn't the West, and I'm really a student of everything here, But what surprised me, although I shouldn't have been surprised, is how many Muslims that I have seen here in Thailand, and they are Asian. Many of them are Malaysian, some are Thai, or they're Malaysians that have become Thai. Keep in mind that Malaysia is a Muslim majority country, and Indonesia, which is also close, is the largest Muslim nation in the world. The majority of Muslims are Far East Asians. So think about this. Most Arabs are Muslims, but most Muslims are not Arabs. Got that? And here in Thailand, I go to the market, and it's a Buddhist majority. Muslim women with head coverings, and everybody seems to get along pretty well. I don't hear a lot of judgment. I don't know what people really think, and I don't know what the conditions that are put on minority groups within Thailand. I don't know how the Muslim minority here what they would say about it, but I'm just saying from an anecdotal observation here, there's actually several groups that I'm surprised in Thailand that they're very tolerated. There are many, many people, they're called ladyboys here. I don't know how politically correct this term is, but I'm friends with some that I made here, and that's what they use for themselves. it's what we would call a transgender in the United States, and gays. And gays, transgenders, and Muslims, I have seen way more than I thought I would see out in the open here in Thailand. And the society here seems to be relatively, like, they accept it. But my understanding is that there's far less legal rights. Like, if here, there's not a Bill of Rights. There's not a political culture that assumes that everybody gets rights here in Thailand. And this has been the mystery for me about figuring that out, like how that works for various groups of people. Okay. Anyhow, that's been interesting. So going back to the topic of Islam. So over here, it seems to be accepted relatively well. I don't know. I actually lost my chain of thought. Figures. In any case, it's good for you all to learn on this topic so you can have a better understanding. And if you have any questions on it, let me know. The Middle East and Middle East religion is really my specialty. And I like talking about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. You know, that's what I know the most. And here I have been really learning a lot more about Buddhism in practice. And that's been interesting for me to try to figure out. Well, yeah, this is what I was going to say. But I want to say this one last thing. In Myanmar, the neighbors of Thailand, often enemies in the past in battles, just expelled over 500,000 Muslim Rohingyas. Like ethnic cleansing, led by Buddhist monks in Myanmar that are Islamic phobic and basically like this one guy said, I want to be the bin Laden of Buddhism. That's what he said. And so, I don't know. The world's a crazy place. There's a lot to process. I'm hoping that as you're learning history, it's helping make you a better person and have a better understanding of the world. And this is the thing, as a heterosexual white American male traveling the world, looking around America, looking at our media and like how things are going down in America, looking at Europe and their issues, seeing what's going on here, I'm just blown away. And it's just, I wish we could all just have these conversations together about things that make me really, my brain is just constantly thinking and realizing so many things. But, when you get along with people and you're having a good time and you realize that's what counts, right? I mean, when you're with angry people that are hateful, it's bad energy, man. It's not a good world. I don't care what kind of holy book they quote or what you're talking about, man. It's like we don't need you. That's all I'm going to say about that. I hope everybody has a great week. Contact me if you need anything.